Hi, I'm Jess,
Hi, I'm Kristen.
and this is ReDIScover, a conversation where we travel through everything that makes up the essence of who we are and how to live authentically and imaginatively.
Here, we invite you to join us as we explore and discuss a little bit of, well, everything.
From Disney to cultivating your most authentic life to deepening your relationships and talking about the real stuff.
We hope you'll find this a space that speaks to you, encourages you, and brings a little bit of magic into your day.
Hi there, I'm Jess,
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen.
and welcome back to this week's episode of ReDIScover. We are continuing on our spring cleaning month, and this episode particularly is our spring cleaning episode. So we are going to dive into all the different spaces that you can clean up or cleanse or clear in your life, from all the digital spaces to the physical spaces to the mental and the social.
Yeah, we really wanted to take this concept of spring cleaning, which is something you either really look forward to or maybe really dread, or maybe you don't do at all, and kind of make it a more all-encompassing practice to really start a new season out with a clear mind and a clear space and a clear, representation of yourself in every way that you show up in your life.
So we can dive right in, and we thought we would start with the physical spaces because those are the most tangible, the most obvious. And remember, you don't have to just do these things in the spring. There's no right or wrong way to do these.
Yeah, we were sort of talking about how, like, Jess is somebody who might do some of these physical cleaning up practices in one big project. And I'm somebody who kind of tends to do them as they come up. Obviously, a big one that we all neglect, I think, to some degree is our closet. We've got Marie Kondo on Netflix. That's a great, I'm sure you've heard of it at this point, but if you haven't watched it, she's the cutest thing in the world. The other one we love on Netflix is called The Home Edit. And basically, it's a lot of really concentrated organization projects from closets to pantries, office spaces, things like that, that can really make a difference in how your day and your week and your life flows. So closet-wise, obviously, a lot of us have more clothes than we need. And I think as a culture and as a society, we're moving more toward capsule wardrobes and sustainable clothing and kind of collecting a lot of signature versatile pieces and not so much just focusing on like how much we can have. So for me, I have the 1 in, 1 out rule where if I buy a new piece of clothing, I donate or get rid of another piece of clothing. So back when I had roommates, I would put a bunch of things that I was getting rid of at any given time on our kitchen table. And I would just text our group chat and say, hey guys, a bunch of free game stuff on the table. And whatever they didn't take, I would put in a box labeled Goodwill. And at the end of the month or whenever the box was full, I would take it over there and drop everything off. Jess, I know you've been a Poshmark gal as well.
Yes, Poshmark is a great app for selling clothes, and I've used that before in the past, as well as Facebook Marketplace for both clothes and for items. And I recommend connecting those to your social medias, just getting as much engagement from different areas as possible. But those are really great tools to use.
Yeah. So whether you're going to sell them via one of those spaces or even take them to a local consignment shop or donate them, a lot of your kind of local newspaper social medias or like in Buffalo, there's a social media account called Step Out Buffalo that kind of gives us updates on local things going on. A lot of those spaces will tell you where you can donate things, and they'll give you some really good kind of off the beaten path options. Obviously, Goodwill and Salvation Army are the obvious choices, but there are also women's shelters that will take things like makeup. And obviously, I'm not totally sure on the COVID practice for that, but a lot of them will take makeup even if it's gently used. There are ways you can sanitize certain things. Obviously, not all things, but things like eyeshadow palettes and stuff like that. And then obviously clothes. There are a lot of shelters that help women who have been victims of domestic violence to kind of get on their feet again. And so if you have any like business casual clothes or maybe like briefcases, purses, things like that, shoes that you're just not wearing or using anymore, maybe you've transitioned to working from home and those blazers just are sitting in your closet collecting dust, that might be a great way to help somebody else to feel confident.
Okay, so going back to Marie Kondo, her book is titled The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and she has a Netflix special as well. Definitely a fun, easy watch and very inspirational. When I watched that, I just wanted to clean out my whole closet, and I did at the time. I watched it right when it came out, and then all of a sudden I was setting aside all of this time to go through each segment of my room and go through all my stuff. So her methodology is really intricate and interesting, but what I took away from it was, for my closet particularly, taking out all of the clothes of a certain type. So all of my dresses, perhaps, or all of my t-shirts, I take them all out, put them on my bed, and pick up each one. And I look at it and I see how I feel when I hold it. And her method is, if it doesn't spark joy, let it go. So see if it sparks joy. You can feel it within you. And then you can feel okay with letting it move on, going to the next place, and clearing out space for new things to come in. So I love her methodology. It helped me a lot because I felt really guilty sometimes letting go of clothes because perhaps they were from certain events or from certain people. But if the time has passed for them to be useful in your life, if you thank it, let it go, and it doesn't bring you joy anymore, then it's time for that piece of item or that piece of clothing or that item to move on. So I love Marie Kondo for that. She's amazing and highly recommend both her book and her show. As far as my methods when it comes to closet and clothing clear out, I tend to kind of batch it all at once. I'll get this overwhelming urge to start clearing something out. And that often happens when I'm packing for a trip or packing to move, or it's just I've been going in my life and I'm like, wait, I just need to slow down and go through all of this and do a cleanse. So I'll do that whole process, really enjoy it. Sometimes it's kind of fun. And then you can fold everything and put it back in its place. In my closet, particularly, I have things organized by color just for fun. And because it makes me feel organized, it helps me find things.
Yeah.
I have it in rainbow color order because I just think it's really cute. And then too, something that I found kind of fun was being me, I have a very extensively large Disney clothing collection that I've collected all throughout many, many years since I was young. And it's hard for me to let go of those shirts because they have graphics on them that are never going to come back and never be available again, but they're clothes that I don't really wear anymore. So there was a time where I was going through them and I set a bunch aside and I was like, okay, I'm not going to wear these anymore, but is there a way I can preserve them? So I found a company called Project Repat and got them made into blankets. And they are so comfortable.
Yeah, I love
have,
that.
oh my gosh, they're amazing. They're like fleece on the underneath and then they're sewed together so nicely. We can link that in the show notes, the Project Repat company. This is not sponsored. I'm just sharing one of the tips that I enjoyed. And I have, a Disney t-shirt blanket now, and it's so fun. It's like looking at memories and it keeps you warm and it clears out some space where otherwise those shirts would have just been sitting in a tub. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fun to think about when you were saying yours is organized by color. I feel like I've done that and I liked it, but now mine's organized by like type of clothing. So I have like all my dresses in one spot and then all my like business cash and then all my like fun Disney things and then all my like frumpy clothes, like my cozy clothes. Like it's kind of sectioned off by mood almost. Like, do I feel like dressing up? Do I feel like being comfy? So whatever works for you, whatever like helps you go in your closet and kind of feel like you're consistently seeing everything. Because I think that that's a big part about refining your wardrobe is actually wearing everything that you have on a regular rotation. And if you're not wearing it, aside from the using Marie Kondo's method, sometimes you just take something out and you're like, I haven't worn this in 2 years. And like, I sort of like it, but I don't really know that I've ever really worn it that much. Maybe it's just time to go.
Or sometimes you'll look at some old items and pick it up and be like, oh, this reminds me of this time of life, or it reminds me of this ex-boyfriend. And the clothes hold energy. So sometimes it's time to thank it and let it go.
Yeah. And on that note, I would love to talk about a subject that is very near and dear to me, makeup. Obviously, anyone who knows me knows I have a ridiculous makeup collection, but what everyone who knows me might not know is I actually have way less makeup than I used to. I probably got rid of about half of my makeup. If you feel like you have 16 similar lip colors that are basically the same thing, you probably don't need all of those. And just really focusing on kind of curating your collection to what you really love. Like when we talk about sparking joy, it's really just a very personal thing at the end of the day. And a thing I like to do to make sure that I am using what I have, because of course makeup expires. If you didn't know that, you're gonna want to look through some of your stuff.
There's
If
a
you
little icon on the
Yes.
back, and it looks like an open container, and it says 6 months or 12 months. So just check on those for toiletries and makeup.
Yeah. So basically, that means that from the date that you open the product, that's how long you have to use it before it expires. So if you open a new foundation and it says 6 months on the back, then 6 months from now, you should toss her out because, the oils do separate and things do go rancid and it is going to smell weird and it's not going to work the same way. And it might even cause texture or breakouts. So, definitely be mindful of that. But a thing I like to do to make sure I am using what I have so that I can use it before it expires is I'll put things out physically within my reach and my eyesight so that I use them. So whether that's out on my bathroom counter, out on my vanity, kind of reconnecting with what you already have, like go shopping through your own collection and kind of rediscover some of your favorite products.
Yes. When it comes to makeup for me, I go through it in a similar way I do with my clothes and, take all my lipsticks out or take all of my fill in the blank out and go through and see how I feel when I pick each of them up and think about how I feel when I wear those products. Because if I have a product where I know let's keep going with the lipstick example, I'm wearing it. Hold on. I'm wearing it. Um, I'm wearing a lip color and it bleeds or feathers around my lips. Why would I hold on to that just because I've had it for so long and I don't want to throw it out? It's just kind of taking up space when I know I'm not actually going to wear it because it makes me uncomfortable to wear. So kind of becoming okay with letting those items go. And of course, I'm just going to throw this in there. If you haven't washed your makeup brushes recently, give them a wash. You want to wash those every so often to keep them clean, and it's just better for your skin. So this is your sign to wash your makeup brushes.
Great tip, Jess.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Shall we go into the kitchen next?
I think we should. I love this particular topic.
So another great physical space to clean up during your spring cleaning is going into your fridge and your cupboards, because we all know there's some food in there that has probably expired by now. And again, my favorite method, I'm saying this again, it translates to most every area, is just taking everything out and going through and looking at expiration dates. And if it's expired, getting rid of it and then putting it back in an organized fashion. Sometimes I like to even get fancy and wipe down the fridge or the cupboards with my multi-purpose cleaner. And it is such a satisfying feeling. And then you know what you have in there. Maybe even write a list of what items you have like for dinners this week. Sometimes I do that. Or when I come home from grocery shopping, I'll have like a list of dinners so I don't forget like the vegetables that I bought so they don't perish.
My family used to get a CSA box from some local farmers like in the summertime. So we'd come home with
that?
oh my gosh, let me tell you about the joy. So basically, certain farms that grow a lot of different things or do a variety of different things will put together a CSA box. And actually now during COVID, a lot of places are delivering them. You can get produce shipped to your house, which is cool. But we would go once a week. I think it was on like Wednesdays, and we'd pick up our box, and you can get a small share if you're just 1 to 2 people, or a larger share. And they would just put everything that they'd harvested that week in the box. So you maybe, in the early fall, you'd get some squash and some root vegetables and, kale, things like that. Maybe some of the last tomatoes from the summer, and then just seasonally, depending on what was being grown. But then it's honestly way cheaper than buying it at the grocery store. It's way less packaging and plastic. It's way fresher because it's coming from the farm directly to you. And oftentimes a lot of these farms use organic practices. So these things aren't being treated with pesticides or anything like that. So it was super cool. And so we just grew up always having like a box of vegetables every week. So you bring it home, and we would wash everything right away, because if you don't wash it and prep it out, you're probably not going to be likely to use it, because some vegetables are just labor intensive. You have to clean the lettuce, you have to, peel the carrots or the beets. And then I've seen some people even write on those whiteboards on their fridge, like veggies for the week, this, and this, if they got a bunch all at once. So then they look at the fridge door, know exactly what's in there. So when they're planning meals, they go, oh, okay, well, we have carrots and cauliflower. Let's make a soup, whatever. So it's kind of a good way to know what you've got before you even get in there. Something I saw on Instagram, this chef named Amanda Fredrickson does this thing. She started during COVID called fridge foraging every week, where she would go in her fridge, see what she had that was like maybe going bad, or just like a little end of this, or maybe she only had like 3 carrots left or whatever it was, and she'd figure out a meal to make with all those things. So there's so many resources of like actual chefs and people who do this for a living that you can find, that will kind of give you some inspiration if you're feeling like you look in your fridge and you're like, okay, I've got all these things. What do I do with them? I think another thing that people think of when they picture an organized kitchen is all of those beautiful glass canisters full of all of the different cereals and flours and grains, and everything is so neat and tidy and white and shiny and beautiful. And I think that that's great. And I am self-admittedly one of those people. I have my glass jars. I like to put things in them. In my defense, in the South, if you don't do that, you will probably get bugs in your flour and in your rice and things like that. So it's honestly also a protective measure. But I like to also use those because I see what I've got and I can see exactly how much of it I have. So if I have all these canisters that are the same size and I put my rice in them and beans and pasta and things like that, I can see when I'm getting low. So I know that I need to buy more of that thing if it's something that I constantly have, especially with something like cereal that you tend to go through more quickly. But if you're not a canister person and you just feel like you do not want to come home from the grocery store and start separating things out into glass canisters that you're labeling, that's just not a thing you want to spend your time doing. If that concept doesn't spark joy, don't be a canister person. You can keep your stuff in its original packaging and still have an organized kitchen. It's just about being aware of what you have and making sure that you're actively using what you have, because then you're minimizing your waste and you won't have cupboards that are bursting with half-used bags of everything.
Mm-hmm. So other areas to focus on, desks are a big one. If you have drawers of pens and pencils, or you have that drawer you are just throwing all your stuff into, your designated junk drawer, not designated drunk drawer. One of your spring cleaning days would be a great day to just take everything out and go through it. And just, if you haven't used it in months or years, you probably don't need it in there anymore.
I have to mention one of my favorite comedians of all time here, because I think we all have somewhere where we just kind of throw things. We always had a junk drawer in our kitchen growing up. I know people who have like catch-all cabinets. But I think a big one for a lot of us is the center consoles of our cars.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone knows who Eliza Schlesinger is, you are blessed because of it. If you don't know who she is, all of her specials are on Netflix. She's hilarious. She does a lot of feminist stand-up, and so of course we love it. But she does a whole bit about when you're dating a girl and she just seems like she has her life together. And she goes, yeah, you think you got a hot girlfriend? Check the center console of her car. and just about how we throw drive-through napkins and straws, and literally threw a granola bar in there today and thought, I'm gonna find that in 6 months and be like, oh well, can't eat this now. And I think it's important every now and then to think, where are the places where I'm just throwing the things I don't want to deal with. And that can be hard because generally the reason you put them there is because you didn't know what to do with them. So now you're going to have to face that not knowing what to do with it and figure out what to do with it. But like Jess said, the odds are if you're just throwing it in there because you don't know what to do with it, it's probably because you don't really need it. So
Yeah. Or if it's like a paper that's important, maybe just have a folder for
Yep.
documents.
Yep.
Or like a designated like Ziploc bag of things.
Some advice my mom always gave me whenever I would like move into a new place was get a firebox. And basically there are these metal boxes that are fireproof. So you put all of your most important documents in there, like your birth certificate, your social security card, things that you are absolutely going to need in an emergency. So you put all of those, even if it's a portrait, like a portrait. Oh my gosh. Okay. Stand down, Disney. Even if it's a picture of a loved one or just some valuable like family heirlooms, anything that if there's like a fire and you got to get out in like 30 seconds, you can grab this box and know that like you've got your basics covered.
Also, going back to the car thing, the center console, cleaning out your car is a very therapeutic experience as well. Not only the center console, but the glove compartment, the back seat pockets, whatever the heck is in your trunk or on the floor of the car. I think one of my favorite things to do, and I did this so often in Florida because the weather is nice. You're like, okay, I'm just going to go clean out my car and give it a good vacuum. It's, again, like a very cleansing feeling. I got so much joy from it. It was great.
I'm laughing because I thought of Nick Miller from New Girl when he like is stressed out and he doesn't want to face something. He's like, I gotta go move my car. Yeah. Every time. I'm just imagining Jess being like, I have to clean my car.
I have to clean my car.
Yeah. And I think on that note, just very quickly, when you're organizing your car, it's not just about what you're taking out, but also about what you're putting in. And I think it's important to have certain things in your car to do with the climate you live in. Like obviously everyone up north has a snow brush in their car. I also would keep a blanket in my car in case I got stuck somewhere and ran out of gas. Things like that. In Florida, I always keep a rain jacket and at least 2 umbrellas in my car. So if I have somebody else with me, they can have an umbrella too. And because rain rolls in pretty quickly,
yes, it does.
I always like to be prepared for that. So I think making sure you have everything you need to face the climate that you drive around in is a great way to declutter your car and also be intentional about how you use that space. So
now I need to go put a blanket in my car because that's actually a very good idea.
That's okay. I can't take credit for that. That was also mom advice. My mom should write a book of just like all her life hacks.
It's really smart though, just because if anything happens, it gets really cold. So
really cold, really fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your reusable shopping bags, keep those in your car too, so that when you're going to the grocery store, you don't get there and go, oh shoot, I forgot my bags. The last but not least thing we want to cover to do with your physical spaces and spring cleaning is my personal favorite way to start the day. And I don't know if I'd be able to get through my day without doing this one little thing, but making your bed. Now I know that this is a very polarizing topic and so many people are going to be like, why would I make it if I'm just going to get back in it later? I would argue that logic is flawed. But I am an avid bed maker. I get up in the morning and the very first thing that I do when I get out of bed is make my bed. And it just makes me feel like, okay, sleep time is over. We're ready to do the day. And then there's something very relaxing and kind of calming about unmaking the bed when you're ready to go to sleep. It's almost like telling your body like, okay, time to wind down. We're getting into bed now. So I think that it can be a very intentional thing. If you don't do it every day, it's okay.
Yeah, I absolutely love making my bed. I'm not going to say I do it every single day. Like right now, I didn't make my bed today, but yesterday I did. And when we went to bed, it was like, oh my God, this feels so good. And it's like you're staying at a hotel almost. And I think that's why I like it, because it just makes me feel like I have my life put together. It's like a self-care thing. And again, don't beat yourself up if you don't do it every day. But when you do, just relish in it and enjoy it.
Even if you want to put little chocolates on your pillow. in the
Make it
morning. So then when you
fancy.
come back at night, you're like, oh, thank you, former self. I love chocolate before bed.
There are so many ways to make your life luxurious. You
Yes.
just have to get creative. Next, we're going to transition over to digital spaces, which is another sort of tangible area that you can really clean out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So when we're talking about spring cleaning, I think the obvious thing to talk about is how to clean up your home. And that definitely contributes to the way your life flows and the way you feel and your mental health. But I think digital spaces, especially now that we're spending so much more time on screens, is a way that we kind of tend to overlook that can really be cluttering up our lives and our mental spaces. So a big one for me is the good old social media unfollow. I think it's important to audit your social media every few months and kind of look at what you're consuming and evaluate its value in your day because we spend so much more time than we realize scrolling on social media, and those things that you're consuming are taking up energy and space in your life, and they're causing you to then, like, when you say yes to that, you're then saying no to something else. So when you're saying yes to spending time on social media, you're also saying no to spending time elsewhere. So you want to make sure that that yes is a worthwhile one. And we did an episode, which we will link in the show notes, a while back, one of our very first episodes. I believe it was episode 4
It
of
was episode
ReDIScover.
4.
We talked about some social media accounts to follow to kind of brighten up that space. And we totally stand by all of those still, if not more so than we did then. But I think it's a great way to reevaluate the value add of that time spent. So following people that align with your beliefs, just going through your actual following list. So the way I like to do it is I go into my profile and click on following, and then I go through alphabetically starting with A and just go down the list. And if I haven't interacted with that person, if I don't even see their stuff on my feed because of the algorithm, or if I just don't really associate with that person in my actual life or in my social life online anymore, then they get unfollowed. And I know a lot of people use the mute option because they don't want people to know that they've unfollowed them. And that's totally fine too. But I would argue, and this was something that Jess and I spoke about earlier, even though they're muted, they're still there. It does still exist and it is still taking up energy, and kind of like an app running in the background on your phone. It's siphoning off energy from that space. So I would challenge you to step into your power, unfollow the person, and trust that everything's going to be okay, even though you chose to unfollow them, because odds are nothing bad's going to happen to you because you unfollowed somebody. So, and I had that happen to me recently. I went to mute someone who's just posts and beliefs just really didn't align with mine. And I kind of sort of realized it all of a sudden. And then I was like, why am I muting this person? I don't want to see what they're posting at all. So I just unfollowed them and I said, okay, worst case scenario, they say something passive aggressive about it, but you can handle that.
Definitely.
You're tough. We believe in you. We believe in you.
I think it's so easy for us to say social media is really toxic. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter makes me feel really bad, blah, 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 blah. We all fall into the trap of saying that. But how often do we really look at who we're following? How often do we take an audit of the content we're consuming? And I think by going through it and cleansing it, like you said, through the friends list is a great way to do that. Or just do it as it comes. If you're starting to see some posts that like trigger something in you or make you feel kind of off when you see it, or make you feel negative or bad or drained, take note of where it's coming from and don't be afraid to use that unfollow button. Just cleanse your space, because you can cultivate your Instagram feed however you want to. Like, I genuinely love going on Instagram. I don't feel those things because I've cleansed it down so much that the people who I follow are giving me great information. Like, I follow tons of food and recipe blogs. I follow tons of positive mindset, spiritual accounts. Like, I follow therapists online, anxiety, like anxiety coping accounts, like
Mhm.
pet accounts, dogs, like fun things, people that I know and love, and just anything that really isn't going to bring me joy again. Like, why continue to follow it, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Yeah.
you have a lot of control over that. And
You have all the
also,
control over that.
you are the one who's in control of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely up to you. Like,
Yeah.
remember, we have more choices in life than we really think that we do
Yeah.
when we really tune in. And another strategy I like to use too on Facebook, you see those like 5 or 6 people who have a birthday that day. See if you're still talk to them, or if
Mhm.
they're just someone random you met in your past who you don't even remember where they're from anymore. And you can kind of take it day by day and just see if there's anyone in that small group that you need to unfollow, because then it brings a little bit to your attention, but it's not the whole list. So it's less overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to do it over time. And
Happy
if you
birthday.
see people on that list that you have phone numbers for, I would challenge you to not comment on their Facebook wall and actually send them a text or leave them a voicemail and reach out more intentionally. Because again, this is quality over quantity. We don't need hundreds of Facebook friends. We need to be more intentional with those ones who are actually true life friends. But going back to Instagram quickly, I loved the feature that Instagram has added where when you do click on the people you're following, it actually has a tab at the top of the screen that says least interacted with. So Instagram is literally telling you, hey, these are the accounts you don't really do anything with. And sometimes they're like big verified accounts. So obviously you're not interacting with those people because you just follow them because they're Chrissy Teigen. But some of them are just accounts you may have forgotten about, and maybe the algorithm just hasn't shown them to you in a long time. And so, I mean, at any given time, there's probably about 50 on that list. So that's a great way to go through and get rid of, I mean, even if you get rid of half, that's 25 accounts gone. Yeah, like just said, not only following people who spark joy, but following people who actually contribute to your life, who bring you knowledge and insight and empowerment. I mean, I follow like functional medicine doctors.
Yes, me too.
I'm not a doctor, which I say all the time, like, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I love learning about these things. So whatever it is that interests you, there's an account for that that's putting out some really solid content.
Another area you can cleanse on your phone is going through your apps as well, which sometimes we forget about because we're just going through the motions. But apps, at least for me, tend to just kind of pile up after a while because I'm like, oh, I'll see if I like this. Again, like a little app audit and seeing what you actually use, deleting what you don't, and then organizing it in a way that makes you happy, like whether that be by color or by type or whatever. Like I have a lot of folders that are travel, shopping, food, Disney, whatever. And it's really helpful because then I know where to go to find it. And it's not 6 pages of apps, it's down to 2.
Yeah. And your Pinterest boards as well. If you're somebody like me who uses Pinterest as like your cookbook, basically, like your master cookbook, I get so specific. So I know exactly like when I have an ingredient or a type of recipe I want to make, I know exactly where that folder is. Each one is a drawer. And when you open that drawer, everything that you need to know about that particular topic is inside. So it's like literal digital cabinets that you can go through, and what you're storing in them you want to use, because when you think of like your kitchen cabinets, if you open it up and just a bunch of stuff starts tumbling out, you know, like those infomercials that are super over dramatized and they open the cupboard to get the Tupperware and it like tumbles out and knocks them on the ground and it's like so over
drama.
The trauma of Tupperware. But if you think about it, your digital spaces can feel like that sometimes, like it's just hitting you in the face. So really sorting through them and deciding what you actually want to use and like what has a utility element to it for your life, and keeping those things in there. So that way, when you open the digital cabinet, you'll look inside and you'll see everything that you actually need.
And then playlists as well, your music, seeing, I mean, sometimes I'll download albums and then I just don't even listen to them and I'm just carrying them around. So maybe cleansing those out and just seeing where you can reorganize and prioritize what you actually are listening to instead of just having it be really scattered. Because I know my music for me sometimes causes a little bit of that overwhelm. I don't even know where to look. So it's nice when it's organized and up to date.
Yeah, that's where I feel like Spotify's user interface is actually really great.
Yeah.
Just being able to make playlists and the suggested ads and being able to share them and make them public. And it always tells you what you've been recently listening to and it curates playlists for you. I just think that they have done a really great job with that. So if you're looking to clean up your music, make a playlist. Make playlists based on artists or moods that you're in, whatever it is that will help you to really like engage with the music that you went and intentionally added to your life. And then I think just some other miscellaneous things for cleaning out your digital spaces are all of your documents, files, downloads on your computer. But emails are a big one for me. I cannot handle a full inbox. I actually will check my email multiple times a day, even on the weekends. And I know that's a little crazy, but I would challenge you to maybe unsubscribe to some email lists that you're on. If you're getting emails from that one candle company you bought your grandma a candle from 6 years ago on her birthday, probably don't need to get their 10% off emails once a week.
Yeah. I unsubscribe as I go, and
Mhm.
I think it's one of the best strategies ever. And if you're one of those people with 3,000 emails in your inbox, I
I'm going to
respect
pray for
you.
you.
I respect you for not letting that bother you, because it would stress me out. But if that's what you're comfortable with, again, live your truth. But if you want to cleanse, we're welcoming you to cleanse whatever you want.
I'm going to pray for you.
Kind of in that realm, also cleaning out your phone contacts is a good one. Just going through the list. Like people from group projects in college, where the tensions were high. Just, you know what? It's been 6 years now. Delete them.
You were the only one doing any of the work.
Exactly. So that's always a good scroll. And then what I like to do that's really fun is like once I clean it out, then I go back to my friends and I add in icon pictures for the friends that I'm actually close to. And it's the ribbon on top.
And then last but not least, the last thing we kind of thought you could continuously be doing to clean out your digital space is going through your photos and videos on your phone. I have a disturbing amount of photos in my camera roll.
Oh, don't even. I probably beat you.
How many do you have?
I'm going to expose myself. I'm a little scared.
We're exposing ourselves. We're doing this we're getting vulnerable so you don't have to.
I'm getting vulnerable. Okay. To be fair, I do have it linked to iCloud storage.
Yeah,
so it's really excessive.
So do I. Absolutely.
Okay. You go first.
I have 63,111.
Oh, that's really cute.
How many do you have?
I have 165,391. Ooh, I told you. It's excessive.
Hey, what?
Yes. I told you I was going to feel really vulnerable admitting
that is no, honestly, I'm impressed because when I tell people mine, they're like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." I didn't think that was like, I've used this iCloud account for like 10 plus years. That feels standard to me. Wow, I'm proud of you, Jess. You own that. But
thank you. I do own that. And you know what? It's really impressive because I'm able to think back to what month I was doing certain things and I'm able to navigate them all thanks to the handy dandy search tool on Photos.
Say, that's a great way to clean out your photos. You can search by month or year or day, and you can even search by keyword. So if you've got 652 photos of Cinderella's castle, it probably is 600 too many. So you can definitely go through, and if there's a person that you have photos of that's no longer in your life anymore because there's facial recognition, that person probably has their very own album on your phone. So you can just go straight to that album, delete all, clear them from your recently deleted, and move on with your life.
And I think something that I do want to take on in the future is I had this idea a while ago and haven't fully completed it yet, but in my notes app, I wrote out every month and year for multiple years and then going back to those so you can break it down, just searching May 2014 and going through and clearing out any photos because to be honest, there are some months and years where I just kept all the duplicates, didn't clear it out, whatever. And then there were others where I was on top of it and only kept what I needed. So I think over time, I would love to go through and really cleanse out by month, just break it down so it's a lot less daunting.
We're doing a holistic spring cleaning. We're really doing all the mind, body, soul spring cleaning here. So
For sure.
we're going to talk about mental spring cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, this is a less tangible space to clear out, but your mental capacity is called that for a reason. It is a space, it holds a lot, arguably more than your physical and digital spaces do.
And it is trickier because you can't see it, but you can feel how much you're holding on to.
Yes,
So.
you will feel heavy, weighed down. We've talked about a lot of this in the past, but you will feel scattered and stressed and anxious. And sometimes those things will manifest themselves physically. Maybe you break out. Maybe you feel ill. Maybe you just feel exhausted. So we're really being mindful and intentional about what we let sign a lease for our mental space.
Mm-hmm.
We're leasing mental space, and we're being very intentional with the applications here. So everything that you take in a given day is taking up mental space. What you watch on TV, what you see on social media, what you observe in your life, whatever you engage in, what music you listen to is taking up space. So we really want to be intentional about what we're allowing that real estate.
Yeah. Like, you know, that meme, this lives rent free in my head.
Yeah.
So make sure
I love that line.
It's funny and it's so true. So make sure if you're letting things live rent free in your head, make sure there are things that you want to align yourself to.
Yeah.
And again, like you were just saying, like the movies you watch, the music you listen to, like the lyrics of the songs you listen to, energetically, again, watch out for what you are allowing in your space.
Like, so. I know that you love true crime podcasts, but maybe listening to them before you go to bed isn't the best idea. And maybe listening to them every day is a lot, because whether you feel like they affect you or not, subliminally and subconsciously, whatever we are intaking is affecting us somehow. So maybe you listen to them once a week in the middle of the day or something, but maybe not before bed. Maybe you don't start your day that way. But really,
our subconscious minds really pay attention to what we feed it more than we even realize. Right. And that's why we carry so much with us, like mentally, especially. So again, it's just tuning in, not to scare you, just to be aware that you're not constantly feeding your mind violence or sadness or like difficulty.
Yeah, you got to break it up a little bit. Absolutely. Yeah. You have to break it up a little bit. And I mean, I'm somebody who loves to like listen to worship music in the morning because it's really freaking uplifting, because it's hopeful and joyful and like starts my day out feeling light. But then at the end of the day might be the Taylor Swift moment where you're listening to something a little easier, a little more melancholy. And it's okay to have those contemplative spaces. It's okay to listen to true crime podcasts. I'm not ripping on them. It's not my thing, but I know a lot of people who really enjoy them. It's just a matter of giving yourself the variety so you don't feel like you're constantly being led into this one space that is consuming you. This is a great opportunity for us to kind of delve into how you start and end your day. And we could do an entire episode on morning and nighttime routines, and maybe we will. But I think that this is a really good starting point for reevaluating your mental health. How do you start your day every day, and how do you wind down at the end of your day every day? Do you start your morning slowly? Do you wake up naturally? Do you take the time to make yourself some coffee and maybe light a candle at night while you're winding down, and maybe you're journaling before you go to bed to get the day's thoughts off the top of your mind. These are just a few things, but if you get out of bed because the alarm's going off and you just jump into your day, you're probably going to feel more frenetic. And then at the end of your day, if you just watch TV until you start to feel your eyelids droop, get into bed and scroll on your phone until you pass out with your phone in your hand, you're probably not getting a very restful sleep. So I think it's important to find new, more mindful ways to kind of bookend your day, so you can really set yourself up to be more well rested and also rejuvenated for the day ahead. And a great way to do that is
Meditation.
Yeah.
So, of course, we have to talk about meditation for this episode, particularly because meditation is about clearing your mind. Don't know if you knew that, but when you're meditating, you're really getting present to the moment and you're letting your thoughts drift away. And of course, your thoughts are still going to come, they're going to charge in there like they do. I think one of the best visualizations for me when I'm meditating is to think of my thoughts as clouds and to just kind of let them go, or think of them as bubbles and they can float away, or you can pop them, or even think of a dimmer switch. I like to visualize that one a lot when my mind's really chattery, and imagine it dimming, and like imagine the volume of your thoughts dimming as well. So then when you're meditating, focusing on your breath, and when you drift off into those thoughtful spaces again, refocus on that breath again. And you can meditate in so many different ways. You can meditate with no sound and just observing like any little sounds you hear, not reacting to them, just letting them be. You can use guided meditations. Of course, I always recommend just going on YouTube, but there's other really great apps like Headspace or Insight Timer or Calm. Those are all fantastic to use. Or you can just listen to music. And I like to listen to, you search HZ frequency. It's for all sorts of different things like pure positive love energy, positive energy, cleanse all trapped negative energy. So anything that resonates with you. And some of these are like hours long, but you can just set a timer for 5, 10, 20 minutes and go from there. So meditation's a great tool. It really does calm down your mind. I know sometimes I struggle with the consistency of it, but the days that I actually just wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my meditation first thing, my day goes so much better.
Yeah.
Because I just took that time for myself to get centered, to clear my mind. And especially right when you wake up in the morning, you're still in that, like, you're getting out of the dream state, you're getting more awake. Your brain is just so much more susceptible to everything. So if you feed it really positive things first thing in the morning, it is just an amazing thing you can do for yourself. It's a huge gift to yourself.
It's almost like the pores of your mind are more open in the morning. So you have to be careful about what you're letting into them, because it's all just going to suck it right in. Nobody's amazing at meditating, especially at first, but I struggle with like not letting the agendas of the day like sneak in.
Oh, yeah, me too.
which is why I think it's important to, well, and another thing that I like to do is I don't know if it's like called a physical meditation, but I don't sit entirely still. I will actually use the meditation time as an opportunity to also stretch, because I think it's like a dancer habit of stretching every day, but I noticed like stretching every day just like also made me feel really good. So I'll do it while I'm meditating, and I'll usually only like do like 1 to 2 shifts in a 5-minute span of time, because I don't want to be moving and not thinking about not thinking about what I'm doing. So this is my way of like almost like gatewaying into it. I'm like telling myself that I'm doing something, but I'm really not. So that has helped a lot as well. And I think also determining what the best time of day for you to meditate is. Like for you, it's probably in the morning. I find I like doing it at night because I tend to have trouble winding down from my day, and I tend to let the thoughts and the things of the day like stay in my head or bother me or whatever. So I find that meditating at the end of my day actually helps me to calm down and decompress and like get ready for restful sleep, and kind of let the things of the day float away from me and become less relevant. So I think, and I know some people who like to stop in the middle of the day and meditate, especially, you know, with everyone working from home right now. If you just feel like you've been staring at a screen for hours and you just need a break, a 10-15 minute meditation during your lunchtime can be a great way to kind of re-energize yourself and make the rest of the day feel a lot less strenuous.
Yeah. And I found a new meditation journal to accompany my practice that I absolutely love. And I mentioned this brand in the Cultivating Happiness episode, but it's by Insight Editions and it's a meditation journal. It has a blue cover. We'll link it again in the show notes. But That kind of helps me with an accountability factor because I'm just filling out the little prompts that they have, and it makes it fun. It's like, okay, we're going to just kind of track and see what came up this time and how long it was for. And it's like doing a little checklist in addition to the practice. So it just adds another layer to it for me. But again, meditation practices are wonderful, and they are sometimes difficult to get started. So give yourself grace at the beginning, especially. Maybe just start with 1 minute if you're someone who's really resistant to it. Work up to 5, work up to 10, work up to 15 to 20. And then maybe you'll even be able to go longer. But it's, yeah, it really is a gift to yourself to unplug from everything and really just sit with yourself, because that's when you are the most clear conduit for your thoughts to come through more clearly, and for divine inspiration to come through, and for just to get yourself grounded, because we don't take a lot of time to get grounded when we are so go, 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 go all the time. So it's an amazing practice. If you haven't done it, maybe give it a try. Maybe that could be something fun that you could just tap into for a little bit, see if it makes a difference in your life. Because I'm telling you, when I meditate consistently, magical things really do happen and they start to unfold. So, but don't do it for any sort of outcome. Just do it out of curiosity if you feel so called.
The last space we want to focus on cleaning this springtime is our social spaces. And this one feels a little less obvious. I think coming down so far away from tangibility to these social spaces is kind of tricky, because this gets a little more emotional. And what we're specifically referring to here is boundaries and those breakups that don't feel so obvious because they have nothing to do with romantic relationships. So specifically, those friendship breakups. I think a lot of times we keep people in our lives and call them friends that are actually not serving us and may actually be contributing to a lot of stress and anxiety because we've just been friends for so long, or because, well, I've known them forever. But just like getting out of a toxic romantic relationship is the healthiest choice for you, sometimes that also means making the tough decision to cut friends out of our lives.
Tune into how you feel when you spend time with people. Do you feel energized after you hang out with someone and you want to take on the world? You feel inspired? You feel like that was such a joy? We connected on such a deep level? Or do you feel really anxious? Do you feel like you just spent the last hour gossiping like about the same old thing? Do you feel like you were giving, 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 and your cup is empty and this person's still not happy? And do you just feel like drained and frustrated and irritated after spending time with them? I didn't understand why I had so much quote unquote anxiety or stress or irritation. But when I would look back and get really real with myself, there were patterns with a lot of the people I was hanging out with. And I'm not saying go in and break up with all of your friends, because that's not the solution.
No.
It's always great to try and salvage something, or maybe start communicating on a deeper level so you can try and come to a space that is healthier for both of you. But there are points, and they may be very, very obvious, where friendship breakups do occur. And
case in point,
we went through and nobody ever talked about that when we were, how old were we? Like 18, 19, 17, 16, whatever. Nobody talked about that. And it was so painful on both ends for us, because, you know, you kind of, you do create a life with your friends. Like, it's not just romantic relationships where you're creating a life with someone. You create a life with your friends. You go on trips with your friends. You go out for drinks with your friends. You know, hang out and have all these traditions and go see all these movies. And like, you have this whole story with these people. Yeah. And then if things evolve and you guys are on two different paths and you're not aligned anymore, and it's causing more stress and harm than good, sometimes you do have to separate, and it can be so painful because you have to grieve and process. And sometimes the support that you need from your friends, like usually if you break up with a boy, you go to your girlfriends and they support you. But like if you break up with a friend, there's sometimes you have people who understand, but sometimes you really don't because you two are the ones in the friendship.
And what if they're mutual friends? You don't want to
Exactly.
put them in the middle of that mess. It is tricky. And I think this is an important time to stop and think about what is the narrative you are telling yourself? You know, is it, oh, we've just been through so much together. So you make excuses for keeping that person in your life because you feel this sense of loyalty that's tied to history, which is a thing we also do in romantic relationships. Um, you know, is it that, oh, we have too many mutual friends, so just make it weird for everyone else? Obviously, evaluating the level of toxicity or the level of unresolvable conflict. I think the first thing to do is absolutely try to resolve the conflict. If it's an isolated situation, I'm 9 times out of 10, it's resolvable if it's just based on one event that occurred. But if it's more systemic and more, you know,
Deeply rooted.
deeply rooted, it might be worth evaluating whether this person's presence in your life is actually contributing anything. Like Jess said, when your cup is empty, you have nothing left to give. If no one's pouring into you, you can't pour into them. It has to be mutual. And just like we spoke in the vein of romantic relationships, it has to be 100% of both of you showing up every time for each other, whether that's in a social setting or something horrible happened to the other person and you need to be there to hold their hand as they grieve it or as they struggle through it. You need to be down in the mud with them, mucking through it. And that's friendship, and that's hard because it's a time commitment, it's an energy commitment, and you don't always want to be there at 3 a.m. or whenever things are going down. But those relationships are so worth investing in when they're good, and so worth reevaluating when they are taking something so fundamentally important away from you. And that doesn't mean that the breakup is going to mean like this person's just never in your life again. Like, obviously, again, we're proof that that's not the case all the time. But sometimes it's a timing thing. Sometimes the season of life that you're in and the season of life that your friend is in are not aligning. And you need to respectfully give them the space to grow that they need. And love them from afar and say, like, I will always care about you, always love you. I wish you nothing but the best, and I want to see you grow into the best version of you, but I can't be a part of that anymore.
Yeah.
Sometimes the friendship breakup isn't so dramatic. It's not like this person is gone from my life forever and we never speak. Sometimes it just means setting a boundary and creating some distance because it's what's best for both of you.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to observing and honoring the path that each person is on. And sometimes that's not easy. And sometimes our egos get involved and we don't want to, show up in a certain way and look bad, or we don't want to, lose the respect of someone else.
Yeah.
But we're overextending ourselves to make that happen. And it's, yeah, it takes a lot of self-reflection and honesty. And if you do have the opportunity to just communicate and hash it out on the table, sometimes it gets really messy, but sometimes you can find some stuff there. But sometimes it's just saying, okay, let's make our peace and split ways for a while and just, send each other love, but move on. Accumulating the tools and really being your own number one advocate for knowing what you can stand for and what you want out of your friendships. Versus just letting them happen to you. Like, get involved, be in the driver's seat, make choices that align with you and not just to appease other people and to have a tight grip on friendships just because you need to have friends to feel validated. You're validated and whole and worthy as you are. Reminder, once again, we've talked about this before, but you don't need a million friends to make you a qualified human being or a deserving human being. Like, you just are as you are. So keep those friends that are quality and that light you up and make you excited and you have higher level inspiring conversations with. And for the ones that make you feel drained, maybe it's time to just take a step back and get realigned on your own path.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely quality over quantity. And I think the older we get and the more we come into realization of our beliefs and we really start to stand firm in them and our values, what we want out of life, our goals and our dreams and aspirations, we sort of refine ourselves. And in doing so, we may look at some friends that we've had for a longer time and realize this person's not coming with me on this journey anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm going this way and they're going that way, and that's fine. And really choosing to go your own way is honoring your own growth, and that has to be your first duty to yourself and your growth in your journey. And if the people who are coming along with you are aligning with that, then that's going to work out really well. But the people who are not have to stay in the past, and that's out of respect for them and yourself and just honoring the path that you're on. People will come into your life when they are meant to, and sometimes it's just for a season. And Jess and I talk about this all the time, but there's always something to be learned from every person that passes in and out of your story. If you think about reading a novel, there's always a purpose for a character that gets a name and any kind of attention from the author. They are serving a purpose in articulating the beauty of the greater story. So if you can really make peace with that temporal element, I think you will take all the good lessons learned and all of the great memories with you, think of them fondly, and be able to continue on and feel a sense of closure, which is really what this whole concept of spring cleaning is about. It's about doing the process and actually touching the thing. Does it bring joy? Is it fulfilling me? Letting it go if it doesn't, bringing it with you if it does, and feeling this sense of wholeness and closure about it. So whether it's your home that you're cleaning up and making a more pleasant and comfortable and rejuvenating place to reside, or you're cleaning up those spaces where you spend a lot of your time and give a lot of your mental space to, or you're reevaluating the people who take up space in your life. It's really just about evaluating from a real place of, does this serve me? If not, I can thank it and let it go.
Alexa, play Gotta Go My Own Way from High School Musical.
Ooh. I gotta say what's on. Amazing.
I've been wanting to say that for a while.
What a beautiful way to wrap it up, Jess. Good job.
Yes. So I think we're going to wrap it up right here.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this spring cleaning episode. I hope that you feel inspired to maybe take on even just one fragment of one of these things that we mentioned, because when you clean out space and you open up space, you're able to welcome in new things and fill it up with the things that bring you joy.
Next week, as we wrap up March on ReDIScover, we always like to give those of you who make it to the end of the episode a little sneak preview as to what's coming. We are finally giving you the long-anticipated Enneagram. We are going to break down all the types for you, break down all the misconceptions and the stereotypes. We are going to do Enneagram 101 next Tuesday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here.
If you are new to the Enneagram, that might be a great intro for you, because we're going to really break it down to the bare basics. Kristen is pretty much an Enneagram pro, and I am learning. I'm still in the process of learning, but I've learned so much just from the books I've dove into so far in our conversation. So you have lots to look forward to. It's going to be a really fun episode.
I'm blushing.
Oh, God.
Yes, we are going to break it all down for you. And the Enneagram is an awesome tool to get to know yourself better, to experience that self-love and actualization, to engage more deeply and intentionally in your relationships, and even understand and relate to your coworkers better. So this is really an across the board awesome tool to clean up your life and get in touch with yourself. And I'm so excited. I think Jess is excited too.
It's going to be so fun. Yes. So thank you again so much for listening. We hope you're loving spring cleaning month as much as we are. And if you enjoyed the episode, share it on your Instagram stories. We will definitely repost. Thank you guys so much again for listening. And on that note, we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of ReDIScover. Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening. Your reviews are what keep us going, and we'd love to hear from you. Join us every Tuesday for a new conversation, and let us know what you think we should talk about next. Follow us on Instagram at positively.kristen and at jessicafay508. And check out Jess's blog at theroadjesstraveled with 1l.com. Until next time, stay frumpy!